Well, the last 2 weeks have reminded me just how much I love being Catholic and just how beautiful our Catholic faith really is. Holy Week was a particularly powerful week leading up to the Easter Triduum. Now, in the past, I've had the opportunity to take part in Holy Week celebrations, but this last Holy Week was my first one as a priest, with Father Tom giving me the privilege of being the principal celebrant at Holy Thursday Mass. The beauty of our faith really hit me at the Easter Vigil, where over 30 men and women were either baptized or brought into full communion with the Church. If you've ever had the chance to talk to someone right after they've been fully received into the Church, you know that it is most inspiring. And quite honestly, it can serve as a reminder to those of us who are either cradle Catholics or who have been Catholics for a while, just how blessed we are, and sometimes what we take for granted. And that is, we have the opportunity to receive the sacraments. I was also blessed to have a conversation with one of the men who was confirmed at the Easter Vigil, and we were talking about our personal experiences with the sacrament of reconciliation. He had just made his first reconciliation about a week or two prior, and he admitted to me that he was a little nervous going in for this first confession, but that the priest made him feel welcome and made him feel comfortable. And when he was finished making this first confession, he told me that he felt like a weight had just been lifted off his shoulders. And I said, well, amen, brother, because I've had this experience myself. As a penitent, I've experienced Christ's love and mercy and forgiveness in the sacrament of reconciliation. Why do I bring this up? Well, today, this second Sunday of Easter, the Church celebrates what we call Divine Mercy Sunday. Now, try to imagine the scene that we read about in our gospel today. Jesus has been killed. He has been crucified. And the apostles are afraid because they think that they're next in line. And so they're hiding behind locked doors. Jesus comes, stands in front of them, and says, "Peace be with you." Now, these are the same guys who had abandoned him just a few days ago. Yet he is merciful, forgiving, and charitable toward them. Jesus knows that they are frightened, and so he says to them a second time, "Peace be with you. Receive the Holy Spirit. Whose sins you forgive are forgiven them, and whose sins you retain are retained." This, by the way, is the primary text that the Church points to as Jesus having instituted the sacrament of reconciliation. Among other things, this episode that we read about in John's Gospel today illustrates Jesus' love and mercy for his disciples, even though they had literally left him for dead. Jesus very easily could have chewed them out. He could have raked them over the coals for literally just leaving him high and dry there in the Garden of Gethsemane. But he didn't. He was kind. He was compassionate. He was merciful. As we heard in our psalm today, his mercy endures forever. On April 30th in the year 2000, Pope John Paul II announced that this second Sunday of Easter would be celebrated as Divine Mercy Sunday. This is largely due to Saint Faustina Kowalska, who was a nun in Poland during the 1920s and 30s. Sister Faustina had mystical encounters with the risen Jesus, who urged her to promote his divine mercy to the world. In one of her journal entries, she quotes Jesus as saying, "Tell the whole world about my inconceivable mercy. I desire that the feast of mercy be a refuge and a shelter for souls, and especially for poor sinners. On that day, the very depths of my tender mercy are open. I pour out a whole ocean of graces upon those souls who approach my font of mercy." To celebrate Divine Mercy Sunday here at Ascension, we had a holy hour with the Blessed Sacrament exposed here in the church at 3 o'clock. When we look around our world, when we look around our country, we can sometimes see a lot of violence, destruction, greed, violations against the dignity of human persons. Sometimes people can be really mean and nasty to one another on social media outlets like Facebook and Twitter. And in many of these cases, in fact, most of these cases, there's really not much that we can do about it in a temporal sense. But we can do something about it spiritually. We can pray. We can do as Jesus suggested through St. Faustina, to ask him to pour out an abundance of his grace and mercy upon our world and upon our country. Lord knows we need it. I hope that you will consider praying. If you weren't with us for the 3 o'clock Holy Hour, take some time, either today on this Divine Mercy Sunday, or maybe sometime this week, to pray on your own for our world, to pray for our country, and to pray for those who are in most need of Jesus' divine mercy.